Imagine a book that was never written on paper, but was whispered into the mind of a queen. A book not bound in leather, but sealed within the elements of the earth, in stone, in lakes and in the sky, waiting for a chosen time. This is not a history book as we know it. It is not a collection of laws or stories to be read by candlelight. It is a map for the most inevitable, most profound, and most misunderstood journey we all must take. When we die, what happens? For millennia, humanity has shouted this question into the darkness. Armed only with faith, hope, and fear, we have built monuments for the dead, woven complex mythologies of heavens and hells, and spent trillions of dollars in a scientific quest to delay the inevitable. But what if the answer has been waiting for us for over 1,000 years? Hidden in the high plateaus of Tibet? In the West, we call it the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This name, given by its first American translator, is a deep and fundamental misunderstanding. It makes us think of Egyptian tombs, mummies, and rituals for the deceased. But its real Tibetan name is Bardo Thodol. Bardo Thodol, this doesn't mean Book of the Dead. It means liberation through hearing in the intermediate state. This is not a spooky guide to what happens after you are gone. It is a revolutionary psychological technology for while you are in between. Bardo, this word means intermediate state, a gap, a transition, and according to this teaching, our entire existence is just a series of bardos. There is the bardo of this life, the bardo of dreaming, the bardo of meditation, and then there are 3 more major bardos that begin after our final breath. This text, this hidden map, was designed to be read aloud to a person who has just died. It acts as a guiding voice in the chaos of being bodiless. It makes an audacious claim that is almost unbelievable, that in the moments and days after the body stops, the mind, consciousness itself becomes more powerful, more lucid and more vulnerable than ever before. This text claims that liberation or bondage is not decided by a divine judge, but depends on one thing only: our ability to recognize the true nature of our own mind. To understand this map, we must first understand its map maker. According to Tibetan tradition, the Bardo Thodol is not the work of an ordinary author. It's a terma, a hidden treasure. It is part of a vast library of teachings left by the legendary master Padmasambhava, who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. It is said that Padmasambhava, aware of the cycles of time, composed these teachings for a future age, an age of great spiritual darkness, confusion and technological distraction. In other words, our age. He didn't write them for all to see. He and his consort, Yeshe Tsogyal, encoded them. They hid them in the physical world and in the minds of future disciples, to be rediscovered only when the world was truly ready, or when it truly needed them. When this text finally emerged from the shadows of myth and reached the West in the 20th century, it electrified the world's greatest minds. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung, who saw in its wrathful deities a perfect reflection of his own archetypes of the collective unconscious, wrote a profound commentary on it. From the psychedelic pioneers of the 60s, who found parallels in their altered states, to the quantum physicists of today, who are grappling with the nature of consciousness, all have found themselves confronting the same question in its pages. Could this be real? This question is no longer just a matter of faith. In laboratories around the world, neuroscientists are studying the brains of dying patients and veteran meditators, finding data that defies all classical models. Doctors are meticulously documenting near-death experiences, NDEs, finding thousands of accounts from different cultures, ages and beliefs that all describe the same core journey. They speak of a tunnel, a great brilliant light, a feeling of profound peace, and a meeting with a being made of that light. What modern science is just beginning to glimpse at the very edge of death. This ancient text maps out as the full journey through it. So our new foundation is this: we are not here to simply read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. We are here to decode it. We will journey together using the Bardo Thodol as our map, and the combined insights of modern psychology, neuroscience, and physics as our compass. This is not about what to believe. It is about what to explore. Because according to this map, the final truth is not found in a book or on a mountaintop. It is waiting for us right now, inside our own minds. The journey is divided into 3 complex stages, the 3 bardos of death. And the first one doesn't begin with darkness, but with a light so brilliant, it holds the key to everything. The ancient masters called it the clear light of reality. But what is this light? Is it a hallucination of a dying brain? Or is it the first raw, unfiltered glimpse of the universe as it truly is? To understand where we are going, we must first face the moment of departure. We must ask in precise, unflinching detail what exactly happens when the heart stops, the breath ceases, and the world as we know it dissolves. How can we prepare ourselves to face this clear light? The journey begins here. In medical terms, this moment is called clinical death. The heart stops. Breathing ceases. The brain waves flatline. But the Bardo Thodol sees this from a completely different perspective. It's not an instant event like flipping a switch. It is a process, a great dissolution. According to the ancient text, the fundamental elements that make up our body, earth, water, fire, and air, begin to dissolve one by one. First, the earth element dissolves. We feel an immense heaviness in our body. It feels as if a great mountain is pressing down on us. Our body can no longer be supported. It wants to merge with the bed. Our sight begins to blur. Next, the water element dissolves. All the body's liquids begin to dry up. We feel an intense thirst. Our mouth and throat become parched. Our hearing begins to fade, as if we are hearing muffled sounds from deep underwater. Then the fire element dissolves. All the internal warmth of the body is extinguished. A deep, bone-chilling cold overtakes us, a cold that no blanket can relieve. Our sense of smell disappears. And finally, the air element dissolves. This is the moment we call the last breath. Breathing becomes an impossible task. Each breath is shallow and difficult until a final, long exhalation releases all the air from the lungs and no more air is taken in. Just as the outer world is sinking into darkness, an incredible event happens within us. Our inner consciousness, so long trapped in the prison of the body, explodes. When the physical eyes close, the inner eye opens. The Bardo Thodol says that after the last breath, consciousness sinks into a brief, deep unconsciousness. It is like a cosmic hibernation, a short pause, but this unfamiliar darkness is temporary. Because what comes next is beyond all comprehension. Piercing that darkness, a light arises. This is not a light we have ever seen in our daily lives. It is not the light of a bulb or even a million suns. The Tibetans call it Özel, or the clear light. It doesn't come from an external source. It is the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. It is pure, raw, infinite reality. The text describes it as a void that is at once radiant and completely still, brighter than 1,000 suns, with a sound like 1,000 thunders. This is the pure mind, which is not subject to birth or death. This is our true self, which has been hidden beneath all our identities, memories and egos. In this Chigai Bardo, or the Bardo of the moment of death, we are given our greatest and final opportunity. The Bardo Thodol's instructions speak directly to the consciousness of the deceased at this moment. O noble one, do not fear this light. Recognize it. It is the natural light of your own consciousness. Merge with it. Become one with it. If the soul in that instant can recognize this light as its own mother, if it can leap into this infinite void without any fear, the game ends there. The cycle is broken. It is liberated from the wheel of rebirth. This is nirvana, the ultimate freedom. But the text is tragically realistic. It knows that most of us will fail. Why? Because we have spent our entire lives clinging to our small self, our name, our job, our relationships, our ego. This infinite, identityless, brilliant light feels more terrifying than death to that small self. It feels like total annihilation. We are overwhelmed by its intensity, so we panic. We turn away. We flee back toward the familiar darkness that promises to preserve our self. And in that moment of fear, we lose the first chance. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern science. Think of those who have returned from near-death experiences, NDEs. Millions of people worldwide, declared clinically dead, have come back describing this exact experience. They speak of traveling through a dark tunnel, at the end of which is an incredible, loving, all-encompassing light. They say they felt a peace in its presence that is impossible to describe. Modern neuroscience has tried to explain this. Some say it's a lack of oxygen, hypoxia. Others say it's the release of psychedelic chemicals, DMT, at the moment of death. But these chemical explanations fail to answer a key question. Why are these experiences so consistent, so profound, and so life-changing? Why is it always a light and a feeling of merging with it? The Bardo Todol gives a simple but profound answer. What they saw was not a hallucination. They saw the first glimpse of the clear light. They knocked on the door of the first Bardo and came back. When we turn away from that clear light in fear, that pure reality begins to fade. It doesn't disappear, but it recedes. The first and best chance for liberation is lost. But consciousness does not dissolve. It loses its power, but it continues. Bodiless, homeless, this consciousness now takes on a new form. It is called the mental body, or Bardo body. It is as subtle as thought, with no physical barriers. It can travel from one place to another in an instant. It can hear the echoes of its past life, see its loved ones grieving, but it cannot communicate with them. In this new, exposed and vulnerable state, the mind becomes a powerful projector. Everything that was suppressed deep in our subconscious, all our hopes, our deepest fears, our hidden desires, and our guilt, no longer stays inside. They begin to project outward as external reality. The mind itself becomes the canvas, and it begins to paint its own inner contents. This is the beginning of the second and longest Bardo, the Chunyid Bardo, or the Bardo of reality. This is where the soul confronts the mirror of its own mind. In this new mental body, consciousness is now floating, confused. It sees the body it left behind. It tries to get back in, but cannot. It sees its loved ones who are grieving. It screams their names, "I am right here. Why are you crying?" But no one hears. It can walk through walls, fly over mountains. This is the first terror, the terror of being invisible, of being ignored. In the midst of this deep confusion and loneliness, that light returns. But it is not the intense, white, clear light of the first Bardo. It has now split into colors. The Bardo Thodol describes a specific sequence. On the first day, which is not our 24-hour day, but a mental phase, consciousness confronts a magnificent, radiant being, a figure bathed in brilliant white light, like a mirror of pure consciousness. This is Vairochana, emerging from the center of the universe. This being is not an external god. He is the pure form of our own consciousnesses, mirror-like wisdom. This brilliant white light calls to the soul, inviting it to merge. But at the very same moment, next to that brilliant light, a dull gray light also shines. This is the light of the Deva Loka, or the realm of the gods, born from our own subtle ego and ignorance. The soul is terrified of the intense white light because it threatens to completely dissolve itself. So it is drawn to the comfortable, familiar, dull gray light. It turns away again. This pattern repeats. On the next day, Akshobhya appears in a deep blue light, the symbol of Vajra wisdom. He calls us to purify our anger. But at the same time, the dull, smoky light of hell, born from our own suppressed anger and hatred, also appears. The soul flees from the brilliant blue light and runs toward that smoky refuge. Then comes Ratnasambhava in yellow light, who wishes to transform our pride into wisdom of equality. Then Amitabha in red light, who turns our attachment into discerning wisdom. And Amoghasiddhi in green light, who transforms our jealousy into all-accomplishing wisdom. Each time the soul flees in terror from the pure, brilliant light of its own wisdom and runs toward the dull, comfortable but illusory light born from its own karma. The question is, who are these magnificent beings? Are they real? The Bardo Todol says yes and no. They are no one other than our own mind. They are the reflections of the purest aspects of our own consciousness. The psychologist Carl Jung explained this process in a new light. Jung believed that beneath our personal subconscious, there is a deeper layer he called the collective. Unconscious, it is the mental inheritance of all humanity, certain universal symbols or archetypes that lie dormant in every human mind. The wise old man, the nurturing mother, the hero. These forms don't come from our personal memories. They are the memories of our species. According to Jung, these peaceful deities are those pure archetypes. They are the fundamental structures of our consciousness. They are the parts of our being that symbolize wisdom, compassion, and balance. In life, we can only meet these archetypes in dreams or deep meditation. But after death, when all the distractions of daily life are gone, these fundamental energies appear before us in their full glory. To meet these peaceful deities is actually to meet the purest version of ourself. It is an invitation to merge with our own highest potential. But when the soul repeatedly fails to recognize these brilliant, pure aspects of itself, it sinks to a deeper level. The beautiful, gentle light of the peaceful deities begins to fade. They recede. The soul's journey is not over. Its mind makes one last attempt to wake it up. If beauty and wisdom cannot liberate it, perhaps fear can. Consciousness now prepares to face a new reality, a mirror that reflects not just its beauty, but its ugliness. It is the part of its own mind that it has hidden, denied, and feared its entire life. Its shadow self. The peaceful phase is over. The soul has failed to recognize the bright, serene aspect of its own wisdom. So the mind now uses its last and most powerful weapon. If beauty and peace cannot awaken the soul, perhaps pure terror can. The soul now confronts a scene that has terrified our imagination the most. This is the phase we mistake for hell or punishment. In the second stage of the Chunyid Bardo, the calm, meditative deities disappear. In their place appears a group of terrifying, fiery beings. The Tibetans call them Herukas, or the wrathful deities. These are demonic figures with many heads and many arms, wreathed in flames. Their colors are deep black, blood red, or terrifying green. They wear animal skins, necklaces of human skulls, and roar while holding cups of blood. Sounds like thunder and flashes of fire erupt all around them. The soul, now completely vulnerable and confused, finds itself surrounded by these horrifying entities. It feels like it is being hunted. It feels as if the guardians of hell have come to punish it for all its life's sins. It is a cosmic nightmare. The soul screams in fear. It wants to run, to find a place to hide. But at this moment of extreme terror, the wise voice of the Bardo Todol speaks again. It gives the soul its most important instruction. Do not be afraid. Do not be terrified of these beings. They are not real. Who are they? They are not demons or devils come from outside of you. Look closely. They are the same peaceful deities you failed to recognize earlier. You could not bear the brilliant light of their wisdom, so they have now returned in the terrifying form of their power. The Bardo Thodol reveals an incredible truth. These terrifying monsters are nothing but the projections of our own suppressed energies. All the parts of ourselves we have hidden our entire lives, our rage, our hatred, our intense addictions, our fear, and our pride, we are now seeing them as external. In this final mirror of death, our shadow self has appeared before us with its full power. These monsters have not come to punish you. They have come to liberate you. They are, in fact, a part of you. The book advises the soul, do not run. Look at them, recognize them. The blood they drink is your own suppressed rage. The fire they breathe is your own uncontrolled addiction. See your own face in these terrifying forms. If you can recognize that they are a part of you, embrace them. This is the ultimate test. If the soul, in the midst of this absolute horror, can hold still for one moment and understand that these monsters are reflections of its own mind, if it can feel compassion for them instead of fear, then a miracle happens. The terrifying monsters instantly lose their power. Their horrifying forms dissolve, and they transform back into the light of wisdom and compassion. The soul is set free, but the Bardo Thirdol knows this is nearly impossible. The fear is so intense, so real, that very few souls can accept this truth. The soul believes the monsters are real, that they are attacking, so it tries to escape with all its might. It searches for a refuge at any cost. This intense fear and this desperate desire to escape is what pushes the soul to its next destination. The hope for liberation is almost gone. The mind is no longer looking up. It is looking down for a new shelter, for a new body, chased by these terrifying deities. The soul is thrown out of the Bardo of wisdom, Chunyid Bardo, and enters the third and final Bardo, the Sidpa Bardo, the Bardo of rebirth. Fear, pure primal fear, is now the soul's only driver. Chased by those terrifying deities, the soul is now caught in a boundless storm. The Bardo Thirdol describes this state like a featherless bird tossed in a hurricane. It has no shelter, no anchor, no direction. This desire to escape now determines the soul's fate. It is desperately searching for a refuge. It wants a body, any body, a womb. It feels an intense longing to return to a familiar world. In this chaotic state, the soul faces a new and final judgment. A massive, terrifying figure appears before it, Yama, the Lord of Death. He holds a giant mirror in which the soul's entire life, every deed, every thought, every secret desire is clearly reflected. Beside him stand symbolic figures of good and evil, counting its life's karma. The soul trembles, believing this is the final judgment. But the Bardo Thirdol whispers to the soul one more time, "Do not be afraid. This Lord of Death is not real either. He is not a judge from outside of you. He is the reflection of your own karma. Your own mind has taken the form of a judge. The mirror is nothing but its own memory, and the judgment is nothing but the sting of its own conscience. After this judgment, the soul begins to be driven by the force of its karma. The sum total of everything it has ever done has now become an unstoppable force, which the Tibetans call the winds of karma. This wind is what pushes it toward its next destination. In front of it, 6 different colored lights begin to shine, symbolizing the 6 realms of rebirth. God realm, a brilliant white light. This is for those who accumulated great merit and pride. It is a long, blissful life, but it is not eternal. When that merit runs out, the fall is inevitable. Asura, demigod realm, a dull green light. This is for those who spent their lives in intense jealousy, competition, and power struggles. It is a realm of constant warfare. Human realm, a dull yellow light. This is the world we know. It is mixed with sorrow and happiness, but according to the Bardo Thirdol, it is the most precious realm. It is the only realm where conscious choice and liberation are possible. Animal realm, a dull blue light. This is the realm of ignorance and blind instinct. Souls here are driven only by the basic urge to survive. Hungry ghost realm, a dull red light. This is the realm of unquenchable desire and addiction. Souls here suffer from eternal hunger and thirst that they can never satisfy. Hell realm, a smoky blackish light. This is the realm of intense anger, hatred, and fear. It is not a place of external punishment, but the state of being burned by one's own rage. The soul does not consciously choose one of these realms. It is pulled like a magnet by the strongest emotion within it. If its dominant emotion is pride, it will be drawn to the white light of the God realm. If its dominant emotion is jealousy, it will rush toward the green light of the Asura realm. If its dominant emotion is intense addiction, it will be pulled to the red light of the hungry ghost realm. And so its own karma pulls it toward a specific realm. If the soul is destined to be reborn in the human realm, it begins to see vague images of places on earth. It sees continents, cities, and finally, couples making love. The Bardo Thirdol describes the process of rebirth clinically. The soul feels an intense emotion for the couple that will be its future parents. If it is to be born male, it feels intense desire for the mother and jealousy for the father. If it is to be born female, it feels desire for the father and jealousy for the mother. This intense emotion is what pulls it toward that specific womb. And at the moment of conception, pulled by that intense desire, the soul enters the darkness of the womb. At that instant, all its memories are wiped clean. All the experiences of the bardo, the clear light, the deities, the terrifying forms, all sink into a deep abyss of forgetting. The bardo body ends, and the embryo of a new physical life is formed. The cycle begins again, but the bardo thodol gives its last instruction. Even at this final moment, a faint hope for liberation remains. The book instructs the soul, do not be swept away by these sights. Do not enter any womb. Remember, this is all an illusion. Your only goal is liberation. It teaches the soul how to close the womb door, how to resist this feeling of desire and jealousy. And if that is not possible, if rebirth is unavoidable, the book gives its last practical advice. If you must enter, choose a good womb. Choose a world where you can practice wisdom. Choose the yellow light of the human realm. Do not go to hell in anger or to heaven in pride. Choose the human world, for it holds the key to your freedom. A new womb, a new darkness of forgetting, and the cycle starts all over. This description might sound like an unavoidable wheel of fate, a cosmic trap from which there is no escape. It might sound like we're all stuck in a terrible dream, chased by the monsters of our own minds from one life to the next. So is there no hope? Is the Bardo Todol just a map of despair? This is where we uncover the biggest secret and the true purpose of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. This text was not actually written for the dead. It was written for the living. Its real purpose is not to tell you what will happen after you die. Its real purpose is to teach you how to live now, so that when you die, you can be free. This is not the Book of the Dead. It is the Book of the Awakened. Everything we have just described, the clear light, the peaceful deities, the wrathful monsters, the 6 realms of rebirth, none of it happens outside of your own mind. The entire Bardo journey is a deep and intense projection of your own consciousness. If these deities and demons are just reflections of our own wisdom and anger, why do we need to wait until death to face them? The truth is, we are experiencing the Bardo every day, every moment. When you feel a moment of profound peace and oneness for no reason, when you are so lost in a creative act that you lose all sense of time, you are glimpsing the clear light of the first Bardo. When you feel selfless love, deep compassion, or wisdom, you are in the presence of the peaceful deities. And when you explode in blind rage, burn with intense jealousy, or become paralyzed by deep fear, you are literally confronting those wrathful deities. They are inside you. The Bardo Thodol teaches us that our daily life is the best training ground for the final moment of death. How we learn to manage our minds in this life is exactly how our minds will operate after death. If you don't learn to recognize and control your anger in this life, that same anger will appear as a terrifying, blood-drinking demon after you die. If you cannot conquer your addictions in this life, that same addiction will pull you into the unquenchable hunger of the hungry ghost realm. This text asks us a revolutionary question. Do you rule your mind, or does your mind rule you? The first step in this preparation is awareness, or mindfulness. It is the practice of observing your own thoughts and emotions like a neutral scientist. When anger arises, instead of being angry, you watch the anger. There is anger. I recognize it. It is a part of my mind, but it is not me. This simple practice is the master key to liberation in the Bardo. Because if you can recognize your anger as just an emotion while you are alive, you will be able to recognize that terrifying demon as just a projection of your mind after you die. Recognition is liberation. The second practice is to confront the shadow self. We all have dark sides, our fears, our shame, our jealousy. We spend our whole lives hiding them, denying them. But the Bardo Thodol says that whatever you suppress will return as a monster after death. Therefore, we must bravely face these dark parts of ourselves while we are still alive. We must acknowledge them, understand them, and integrate them. This is the only way to pacify the wrathful deities. And the third, most important practice is meditating on impermanence, reminding yourself every day that everything changes. This life, this body, these emotions, these possessions, nothing is permanent. This thought weakens our attachments, and attachment is the chain that binds us to the wheel of rebirth. When you don't cling desperately to anything, you will have no reason to flee from the clear light when it appears. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are even higher techniques for this preparation. One is called phawa, or transference of consciousness. It is a deep meditation practice where a person learns to eject their consciousness from their body at will, sending it to a higher realm. While still alive, they literally practice dying every day. They train their consciousness to merge with the clear light, so that when the real moment comes, it feels like a familiar friend. They don't run away in fear. They leap into it with joy, like a child returning to its mother's arms. So what does all of this mean? All these practices, this ancient map, this complex cosmology, what is the ultimate goal? The answer is the biggest and best-kept secret of the Bardo Thodol. The final truth is this: we are already in the Bardo. This life, this world which we think is so solid, so real and so important, this is what the Tibetan masters call the Kiene Bardo, or the natural bardo of this life. It is nothing more than a long, complex and persuasive dream. We are asleep and we are dreaming that we are alive. And the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it is actually the Tibetan Book of Waking Up. Let's reframe this entire journey. That first brilliant, clear light that appears at death, it is not reserved for that moment. It is here, right now, all around you. It is the pure, silent, witnessing consciousness that is hearing these words. It is the silent presence behind every thought, beneath every emotion. But we ignore this light every single moment. Why? Because we are distracted. We are obsessed with the peaceful and wrathful deities. Who are they in this life? The moments in your life when you feel deep love, bliss, or success, those are the peaceful deities that you desperately try to cling to and fear to lose. The people you hate, the situations that enrage you, the traffic jam, the betrayal, those are the wrathful deities that you fear, avoid, and try to run away from. And the 6 realms of rebirth? We don't need to die to travel to them. When you are lost in blissful ignorance or intense pride, you are visiting the God realm. When you are burning with irrational anger and hatred, you are in the hell realm. When you are obsessed with an addiction, burning with a desire you can never fulfill, be it for money, power, or a substance, you are living in the hungry ghost realm. When you act on blind instinct, fear, and the basic urge to survive with no higher thought, you are wandering in the animal realm. We travel between these mental realms 100 times a day. This is the final revelation. The Bardo is not a place. It is a state of mind. Death does not start anything new. It simply amplifies the mental states we have practiced our entire lives. Death just removes the physical curtain that has been hiding our projections. Therefore, the journey described in this book is not a prophecy. It is a diagnosis. It is a perfect description of our current sleeping condition. And so, its final message is not one of fear or despair. It is a message of profound optimism, of urgency, and of ultimate empowerment. Liberation is not a prize saved for the afterlife. It is a choice available right here, right now. We do not have to wait for death. We can choose to wake up in this very moment. How? In the exact same way the Bardo Thodol instructs the dead soul. Recognize the light. Recognize the silent witnessing consciousness within you. Recognize your projections. See your fear, your love, your anger, and your addictions as a play of your own mind. Let go of attachment and aversion. Stop desperately clinging to things and stop desperately running away from them. Stop running. Stop clinging. Be still and see. This entire long journey, this complex mythology, this cosmic map, all of it comes down to one simple, profound, and cosmic instruction. Wake up.